Ahoy, hoy, friends. Welcome to the Salon. Welcome to the first episode of the Salon for Star Trek Discovery Season 5. But we got 2 episodes today, and we'll be discussing them both. Sadly, the final season, but it started off with a bang, and I am super excited to discuss all of the exciting adventure that we've seen thus far. We've got an almost full house with our intrepid saloners here. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to folks in the chat. Thank you for joining us. As always, be sure to like, share, subscribe at Salon Trek in all of the places. Let's get into it. We have 2 new episodes of Star Trek Discovery. But of course, before we talk about the episode itself, we simply must set an intention.
And in the spirit of plot points that were picked up upon from previous series with Star Trek Discovery, our intention setter tonight is we'll go around the room and I will ask you all to share what plot point from any Star Trek series that was left unresolved or left as a cliffhanger or just left would you like to see picked up upon with Star Trek Discovery's 32nd century storyline? Doesn't have to fit into the 5th season, doesn't have to fit into any of the seasons, just a fun thing that you would like to see a 900-year later resolution for. And as always, I will start us off. And I think I may have mentioned this at some point when we were having our discussion last week about season 4. But I kind of want to know what was up with the whale probe. I have questions. I have thoughts. It was fun for the movie to have this probe come and look for whales. But it did leave a giant why that has never been addressed. And while it's fine if it never gets solved, it's something that kind of, I don't know, picks at my Star Trek brain. So I want to know what picks at yours. We will start in reverse order from last week. We'll start with Krista, and we'll go around the room. So Krista, what plot point that has been left hanging would you like to see left unhung, made unhung?
I have 3. I would like to see if Cisco comes back and see what happens. I would like to know what Worf did to the Enterprise E. And I I would like to know what is the exact relationship status of Crusher and Picard. I need exact status. That's it.
I'm imagining a fun story where all 3 of those things are resolved at the same time. Oh my God, you're right. First Beverly alert of the evening, and it's been a while since we've had one, so nice job. Ken.
Well, I was going to say the conspiracy bugs, but I'm not going to say that. I am going to say who the hell built the Doomsday Machine? That's what I'm going to say. Yeah.
Have you ever read Peter David's novel Vendetta?
Yes, I have. That is a great novel, but it's not canon. So
agreed. But a fun story and a fun acknowledgement of
a great story. But in canon, who built the Doomsday Machine? And are there
maybe
more?
It was the whale probe people? Who knows?
Could have been. They look sort of similar.
Commodore Rix.
So the funny thing was, all day I was thinking, and I was like, like the low-hanging fruit answer would be the progenitors from the chase. Like, obviously, we want to know. Like, all of a sudden, we find this massive thing, but now I feel like I can't choose that. So, spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't already caught up. But I'm gonna have to go with. I would really like to see the second EMH from Voyager's. The one episode where he gets duplicated and goes offline for hundreds of years. And then would be making it back roughly around the time the Discovery, and you could obviously have him take some sidetracks too, but I would love to see that and have him come back. That's more just for myself, because I think it would be fun to have Robert Picardo as the Doctor again on Discovery. So I'm going to say that.
It was also a cool, like, not so cliffhanger-y cliffhanger.
Yes, Living
It was a good-
Witness. Thank
it was a
you. I
great
couldn't remember
episode.
the name. Yes,
Yeah,
that was
Living Witness
such
was such a good episode. Yeah, and that was a cool little plot twist that he left in search of. Loved it. All righty. Oops. Will?
Yes. So my first one was Living Witness, because I think it ties in with Discovery, and it'd be cool to have him pop up then. Another one was what happened with the Vaadwaur. It gets talked about in Star Trek Online, but that's not canon. So like what the hell happened with that? Or I was also going to say the Iconians, because it's like where did they go? Why is this stuff left around? Like, talk about some old shit. I like that we're doing, if you're watching this and you haven't watched the episodes, what the fuck are you doing? But yeah, no, those are it. That would be it. That'd be it.
Awesome. Joanne?
So I want to see those bastards from the Masterpiece Society. And what happened, I have to imagine, was utter chaos. The hot leader guy was, going around looking for a Troy replacement. I want to see what happens, and maybe they finally get it together, and I don't know.
And then they kiss?
And then they kiss.
I felt like that's where you were going. I just want to know if he still speaks in monotone. Stan, take us home.
I want all of these. I also thought about the Vaadwaur. That was a really interesting one-off episode that I think Voyager could have picked up again. That would have been fun. Man, there's so many. I've had a good chunk of the day to think about this, and then I got sidetracked. But we kind of know the end point with the Romulans. They end up back on Vulcan. They renamed to Navarre, but filling that in a little bit, I would love to see what we didn't get to see in Star Trek Picard prior to Star Trek Picard. The Picard tie-in novel, The Last Hope, I think it was what it was called, by Una McCormick, has a lot of really interesting stuff with Picard and Raffi on the Verity, and starting the process of evacuating, and so more about the Romulan society and how they end up migrating back to Vulcan, I think would be really fun to see more of. That's another thing that they do really well in Star Trek Online, but as mentioned, is not canon. But yeah, super fun. Keep sounding off in the chat. I know there were a couple of folks who put some fun stuff in there, like the Iconians. I know Norman mentioned that. Super fun. Great intention setter, Trev. Love it. All right. Well, with that, we get to be excited, but also sad. The end of Discovery is nigh, but man, they kicked off their final season with an exciting bang. So we're going to get into it. Let's talk about these first two episodes and just start with our top thoughts. And maybe we'll go in reverse order for this. I'll kick us off and then swing back around the room and then dive into some of the plot points more in depth. I loved these episodes. I thought they were super fun. The pacing was really good. Discovery is going to Discovery, so we are going to pause the action to have an emotional moment. It was a little out of place in the first episode. I loved the way they did it with Saru and Michael in the second episode, walking through the forest. Like, we're still moving forward, having our emotional moment. So I love that we got quintessential Discovery and a Discovery thing happening a little more organically, which was lovely to see. All of the actors are at their best. The visuals are stunning. I think just like every other season, there's been like a revamping. This season is clearly a little different than the others. We get the mystery, like, what is the mystery? What are we going for up front rather than dragging it out? So that was good to see. And now we get to have fun along the way, knowing what it is that we're seeking out, and get to have a fun adventure. Really fun little tidbits. I was saying earlier on Text Trek, I liked the way that they had the non-main characters interacting with folks in these last 2 episodes, and I think had they done that from the beginning, there would be less frustration about us not knowing these bridge characters, because like Discovery is not a bridge character formula Star Trek show, right? It's Michael Burnham, it's Saru, it's Stamets, it's Tilly, it's Adira, a couple of others depending on the episode, and the way that other people were weaving in and out of those consoles. We saw the people we already knew. Had they been doing that from the jump, I think there'd be less frustration about like, why don't we know this person we keep seeing in every episode? Because the show's not about them. They just fly the ship. So that I like seeing them flush them out. And I was curious if it was a scheduling thing or if it was well, this isn't about them, so let's give them some time off or something. But I'm rambling now. Super fun, really excited. Krista, what are your top thoughts?
I was down with all of the imagery. I like all the theological imagery, all of the philosophical imagery. I liked that a lot of the things were very understated, and I can get into it later, but I thought the thing that I zeroed in on right away was Maul and Locke. And if you combine that, it becomes Moloch, and that's Paradise Lost, and that's Milton, and that is a deity. So it all ties into this kind of creation. Interestingly enough, this guy enjoyed a lot of sacrificing of children. So if we're looking at progenitors, then we're all the children of the progenitors. So are we looking at the complete decimation of us? Like, what is this thing seeking? What is it? What is the knowledge that it's seeking? And so for me, the imagery of it made it all just a bonus round all the way. I love Tipsy Tilly. The visuals of it were awesome. I'm guessing at this point we're no longer worried about the captain of a ship going on a mission. They're not staying on the ship anymore ever and sending an away team. But you know, it's all very interesting, and it's all very different from season 4. It kicked off with a bang, and appealed to me because of all of the imagery. So
who do you want next? Me? Okay. So I think that this is the first 2 episodes I thought were really great. I loved how they ended up on Jakku, and had a good time there. There were some Star Warsy things, right? It looked like it could have been Jakku. But beyond that,
desert lands. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm inbutting every desert landscaping since the iconic episode 4 is going to be a Mos Eisley or a Jakku. Every round object is going to be a thermal detonator. It's sci-fi. We get it. But yes, continue.
Yeah, I just thought it was amusing. And then when you got to the speeders, I thought that was really cool. The bike chases. I'm like, wow, very Star Wars. Even the music was kind of Star Wars. But I'll forgive it because I thought it was a really cool episode. I thought it was how they solved the avalanche problem. I thought was pretty neat. So overall, I thought the new characters. You know, I'm looking at Rayner and I'm thinking, you know, there's Liam Shaw elements of Rayner there, which is kind of interesting. You know, I always loved with Kovich. I thought that, you know, Kovich being the Kovich of it all was very cool. And yes, there's very, very philosophical, right? Yeah, they're picking up the pieces of the chase, but that was a very philosophical episode. And so now this whole idea of, you know, let's go and find life. At one point in the second episode, she says something. Burnham says something that's very, Genesis device like. So overall, I thought it was very, very cool. It was a great start. And I know that we were sort of, as a group, sort of slamming on season 4 when we were doing our review. I think if this show continues at this pace with these first 2 episodes, I think we're going to have a great season on our hands.
I have to agree a lot with what Ken said too. Everyone, I'm just gonna get it out. Everyone knows that I am not super Discovery. I thought this was a really strong start. I really did enjoy it. I thought it was a really good 2 episodes. I love that we don't have this whole, oh, what are we doing? Everything's a mystery hiding around the corner. Oh, we don't know anything. Burnham doesn't know anything. Like, now we know, like, hey, here's what it is. Kovic has said, fine, you're my team, go do it. Which I think is a welcome relief to what Disco does a lot. I have to say, and Jared watched this with me, especially the first episode, specifically the first episode, there were so many times the acting just ripped me right out of it. Either the obvious green screens that, like, you have this gorgeous backdrop and then all of a sudden you're having this like intimate moment in the middle of a desert with no wind noise, no background, no, you're just on a static set. Which I get that there's the creative side of, like, oh well, we don't want to like mess up the dialogue. I get that, but like it wasn't even quiet it was just actors acting in front of a green screen. And Jared's specific quote was that it felt like a table read throughout basically the whole first episode. But then the second episode seemed to me like it was just a complete 180, and really got me sucked into it, and I really did enjoy it. And I don't know if we're going to specifically talk about the whole ships on the planet. There's a lot of things that I want to talk about that. I don't know if I should say it now or hold on to it, but I was really happy that my first thought when that was happening was bring the ship down, because clearly the ships can now just hover in the 32nd century. That's fine. I can suspend belief on that. They have better thrusters, better anti-grav. Fine. Great. Extend the shields around the city and sit there and let it hit. But the whole nosedive into the ground, which would have used a lot of your shield energy just on impact. So there, it was a fun campy ride, which I think Disco sometimes is when you just suspend, that. So those are my main thoughts. But yeah.
It was also our first kit bash of Discovery. The Antares had nacelles of one style of ship and the saucer of another. So
I did love the ship. Yeah.
Will?
Yes. I think I echo everyone's sentiments. I think this was the first 2 episodes were really good. I think they're just kind of, they've taken the note that last season was a little slow. I think last season was really a slow burn through the whole, pun intended, I guess, but kind of a slow burn through the season where it felt like we took a lot of time for things that weren't super substantial. And thank you so much. I do want to look like I am on a children's TV show from the 90s. And I on rewatch, I was like, okay, this moves really quick. I'm not getting a lot of, the character moments are weird because they feel like they're just kind of jammed in there. I'd rather them not be kind of like jammed into like the episode, because it felt like it wasn't, the action was was primary and the character development was so secondary. So and there's something that, like, having rewatched all of Discovery, that like coming to like this season, that like the abilities of the ship and their abilities as Starfleet, it's very like whatever the plot needs. Like the ship's landing, like doing that weird maneuver where they stop. Girl, you can just extended your shields. Like, we didn't need this big action piece where the ships are crashing into the dirt. Like, I don't know. It's just not specific enough. But don't have much else to say. Everyone pretty much covered it. It's fun. I like that we're getting something really fast paced, and it feels like every episode is really specifically the stuff that I liked about season 2, being that each episode was a different moment that led to a larger piece instead of one long movie we've kind of broken up. I like that they've gone back to that, and it does feel like they've thought a little more about how each one of these episodes sits together. While season 2, it was like flying by the seat of your red pants. But yeah, no, good. It was good. Loved it.
Joanne and then Trevor.
So I enjoyed it. I had to watch it a couple of times so I could with the captions on for me to fully appreciate it. I'm old, and but I really liked it. I love that Michael is just kind of really sitting in her confidence as captain. Like she has a really calm and in control sort of energy about her that I love. Um, I appreciate um, that they are leaning into the silver foxes. Um, salt and pepper is hot. So that's always a good thing. I also love the kind of whole philosophical sort of approach, the search for life, the quasi search for God, meaning, and it felt very, I know we get to kind of the nod to the chase, but it, from the beginning, it all felt very much like the Gambit to me. So it evoked a lot of that for me too. So 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Not only are we getting to Will's point, and some other folks have mentioned, like we're getting story pieces, we're getting literal pieces of a puzzle with what seems like each episode. I hope that continues. I hope that's a trend that keeps going, and that there's a separate mission for the larger mission each episode. That would make me very, very happy. Um, Overall, I had very positive feelings, but I'm going to just kind of go negative for just a few thoughts. Uh, there were points where the dialogue felt ridiculous, um, including and just really specifically, and I didn't think about this until Matt mentioned the conversation in the desert with no background noise. What bothered me was we're flying through the desert on these sand speeders or whatever the fuck they were called, um, having perfectly clear conversation. There's no, like, I'm sure a comm badge can, or a tri-com badge can filter out static and noise and background, but like we're not hearing it through the badge. We're hearing Michael screaming into her badge. Like we should hear sound, we should hear noise. Um, uh, I'm torn on the ship crash maneuver because it seemed completely unnecessary, but there was also a really nice, like, we've got 30 seconds to figure this out kind of a thing going on. Also, anything that shows Detmer as a badass, I'm here for. So sure, I'll run with it, and we'll just enjoy. What would have been interesting is seeing them get out of that situation. Like once they were there, like we didn't see them. Like, did she just throw it in reverse? I would assume, or did they jump to the to orbit? That would have been interesting. Um, we're never going to see the interior of the Antares, and that drives me nuts. I just know that they didn't have the budget for it. I mean, maybe they could roll the budget into the budget for Starfleet Academy, because clearly they've built some sets that we didn't see last season, and we're seeing them now. And I'm pretty sure that they are just sets for that show. Um, Other tiny negative bits. It really, everything just kind of evolves around dialogue. Some of it just felt clunky. Um, I love what we're getting with Saru and Trina. I just wanted it last season. I would have enjoyed them getting a new first officer at the beginning of last season so that we didn't have Captain Burnham and Captain Saru. Though the Mr. Saru thing is a nice nod to Spock, in terms of no one ever referred to him by rank, it seemed. But I that just felt like it was stretched out too long. So would have liked having Saru move on earlier, and maybe we get a first officer for season 4 that dies heroically at the end, and now we get Rayner in season 5. Like, I don't know, like, because clearly Rayner's going to end up in that position, and it just feels, yeah, I enjoy him. I love that actor. I loved him in Battlestar Galactica. um he was in my opinion, one of the best actors in the show. I know accolades tend to go to the main characters, but I thought he was fantastic, and I'm just really excited. I'm going to sound a little off-brand though, and just say that I'm cautiously optimistic. Normally, I'm just full speed ahead optimistic. I've been burned before, again, pun intended. Thanks, Will. By Discovery, and I don't want to be this season, and I hope that I'm not.
The burn. Yes, I agree. Exciting start. Lots of fun stuff set up. We got some new folks in this season. It was really exciting to see that Elias from season 1 came back in now as Locke. We got Locke and Maul, Captain Rayner, and my goodness. I listen.
Just push the button. You're going to say it. Whatever you're going to say is going to be problematic. Everyone watching, what you were thinking he was about to say, he totally said during that interlude.
My goodies. Gregory Ambrose Calderon is gorgeous. Gorgeous. And he had a fun little doofy moment with Tilly. Love to see it. I'm gonna assume bi or pan king because that character cannot be straight completely. Maybe I'm saying, but it's gorgeous.
First of all, that entire scene, I just want to interject and say, Mary Wiseman is a fantastic actress. She can embody so many things. She can do so many things well. I think she needs to work on acting drunk. Every time she acts drunk, I'm just like, oh, you're like 80% there, but you're still like film school drunk.
Yeah,
like
drunk.
It's hard to do. And somebody once said that and I can see what Mary Wiseman's doing too, is she's acting drunk and saying her lines. And someone once said, the way to make it convincing is you have to act sober being drunk. So you have to act as though you are drunk, trying to act sober. And she just always comes across like she's just trying to act. I don't know. That pulled me out of it. But that man, my whole...
Push it.
End it there. End it there. Don't continue. Just stop.
Right.
End it there.
My whole attention span went to him in the scene anyway. So
yes,
that's what I was going to say.
You were right both times.
I very, very, very much hope, like, they finally confirmed Starfleet Academy is 32nd century. It would be weird if Tilly isn't part of that show. It's clearly been telegraphed. I really hope he's part of it as well. It seems like they're setting it up that way. Man, he is pretty. So I'm going to stop thirsting now. Let's talk about these episodes. Let's fly into it. We get a fun little adventure on an 800-year-old Romulan ship to find a puzzle box, something we've seen in other Star Trek shows and referenced. Finding the progenitor tech. So now that we know that this is the big thing for the season, what do we all think? Are we excited about this? We got a deep cut. We got a deep cut to the chase.
I mean, I'm excited.
What I was waiting for. I was waiting for people to comment on it. Like, how do we feel about this connection to the Star Trek lore?
Lore wasn't there, although another synth was there. So yeah, which is another connection to Star Trek lore, the synth Fred. But yeah, see, my whole goal is to just drive Stanley crazy, and I think I'm succeeding. So
I normally get this eye twitch the closer we get to an election at work, and it's happening now. So
what if? Wait, I just realized. Really quick interjection, Ken, and then I'll let you finish.
Objection.
The whole thing that every Dr. Soom's like They all have a name like Data, B4, Lore. Was this Fred? Is that just fried without the I? Because he got fried with the phaser.
Oh, maybe.
But can
That
you
could
see
be
what
it.
Disco would do with that? Like, oh, he got fried. I don't know.
I could see. I could see that, but I don't know. I will say though that I like the idea that they've picked up on the chase. It was a very, as I mentioned earlier, it was probably one of the most controversial episodes of The Next Generation, and I think, although I've had some discussions about this, and we could talk about this, are the progenitors in the chase the same as the preservers from the original series? So I think it's the same people. But anyway, I think it's a good choice.
I thought that I was they sort of worked themselves into a corner because the progenitors look a lot like the changelings. So I was kind of like, okay, the thing that struck me as interesting is when they were explaining the origins of them or how they came about in their own history. They just said it was Jean-Luc Picard, and there were a number. I mean, your picture shows there were other species there that were part of it as well. They were on their own chase. So I thought it was a little interesting that they just sort of credited him. And on a very petty note, say her name, Beverly Crusher, say her fucking name. She was right there with him the whole time. So it's kind of a godlike thing that I just find really interesting. But the fact that they look so much like changelings took me out of it a little bit. And
well, the changelings came later. The changelings actually look like them because they were first.
Sorry, Canon King. I don't keep track.
Also, I would like to point out probably.
Minutia. Thank you.
Well, and I would say, and one, admittedly though, that does gum it up because that same, the woman that was
It's the same actor.
It's the same
right,
lady.
it's the same actress. So they
Salome
also,
Jens plays both parts. Yeah.
Yeah, so it does look very much like, were they supposed to also have created the changelings? You know, it is very kind of sticky. I don't want to say they wrote themselves into a corner because obviously they didn't because that came first, but it does seem like a weird, they didn't change.
Well, it's also
I don't
90s prosthetics. All aliens look the same with just different shades, spots, and lumps.
Which was the whole point of coming up with everyone looks humanoid. It's how they explained away their makeup.
Also, it wasn't sticky, it was gooey.
Right.
Okay, never mind.
That's what he said.
Joanne, I really appreciate you being here because I can't be the only one to supply all of the bad jokes all night. So you're really taking a lot of.
Stan's here too.
Thank you, Will.
We are a family.
I mean, I'm not so worried about what the progenitors are going to look like because if anyone followed any of the discourse today on Twitter, there was someone bitching about the way the Cardassians look different in Discovery, and I'm like, girl, get over it.
They look the same. It was like
they just made
that was
the makeup
very
just looks
dumb.
better because they're not using fucking modeling clay in a dream to like put ridges on people's faces. Like, get over it, diva. Like,
it's also
ridiculous.
1,000 years in the future. How many times did they interbreed with other things?
Right.
Like last season, people were freaking out about the Ferengi looking a little different. Like, get over it.
Yeah.
As Hillary Clinton said, get over it.
You know, it's that we all look alike thing too. Like, check your privilege, right? So there's diversity matters. It happens.
What do we think about our space Bonnie and Clyde? We haven't talked about them yet.
I like them. I think they're kind of fun. I do. I do find their relationship to be a little cliche. Like before they said they were in a relationship, I was like, oh, these two are clearly dating each other, which like just a bad idea. Like just business wise, just a bad idea. But
They're like evil Book and Michael.
yeah, I think that's kind of what they're trying to put together. But then her having a relationship, I don't know. It just it's like okay, it's all a little too coincidental
I don't
that they
think
all these
she's
people know each
into
other.
it, honestly, or she's not as
Oh,
into
she's gonna.
she's not
Oh
as
no,
into
that
him
eye makeup and
as
that wig. She's gonna start stabbing backs here any minute. Like someone's getting their chop.
exactly, because he's like,
Yeah.
let's just, call it a night. And she's just like,
Mhm.
no, I got a headache, right?
Oh
So I'm
yeah.
like, she's
I'll put
definitely
money
like
on it. We'll
not
put a
into
bet on
him.
it, Joanne. I'll
Yes.
Venmo you $5 if that bitch kills Locke at some point before the end of the season.
Yeah.
She's
Bet,
gonna
bet.
backstab him. She's gonna phaser his ass or something. That dude's
Yeah.
gonna get killed by her. She's gonna get that tech and she's gonna be like, I need all this for me, and she's gonna kill him. That's absolutely what's gonna happen.
I also just want
Period.
to say the only thing that I love about them though is that they don't know what they weren't out hunting this thing. They just happen to stumble upon it and get it, and they have no idea. I love that that's now a trope of this, like they really don't know what they're doing with it. They don't know what it's for. They're going to learn along the way, and then the stakes are going to get higher. Like it just I love that more than like, oh, Tarka was knew exactly what he was doing and was manipulating everyone the whole time, and he was the smartest man in the room, and he was gay, and like
And in 1940s.
and he had a transcontinental accent, a transatlantic accent. So yeah, I
Work,
really
bitch, work.
my Jeepers Creepers, what are they even doing over there? I don't even know what a spore drive is. It sounds like some medicine.
Find the 10C and give them the what for.
Anyway, I really love them. I think they're fantastic. I also want to know what's up with his face. I don't know, like, why does his face change and do the shiny thing? So I actually, overall, I really am enjoying the plot to this. I think my biggest problem is that Disco's being Disco with the writing. And that's what I've always said is I love Discovery. I will never speak ill of the diversity or the inclusion or actually showing forward-thinking things. Even some of the creative, I have a problem with the writing, and I always will. But
Yeah, I also think it's that the universe is really, really small, kind of thing. Like everybody knows everybody. But anyway, that just happens all the time in Star Trek. But like the universe is really so small. Oh, I know this book.
Book having a connection to her was a little much, but it's Krista, I see a hand, and I always appreciate the hand. Let me just say that.
Thank you.
Makes it easier.
I like them as for what they show about Book. The way he's looking at them, I don't know if anybody noticed, but when we first meet them, they're wearing the helmets, and the red lighting on the helmets is shaped like a gazelle. And the gazelle in folklore means freedom. So when he comes up with they're free, they're together, they're just enjoying their lives, it was sort of a tie-in for me. And what I liked is it really highlighted sort of the flipping on its ear of like traditional bullshit gender stereotyping, in that he is the more emotional because he's an empath, and he's seeing something totally different. He's seeing something very personal about them and how they're together and how they're just free doing their thing. And Burnham is looking at it like this is a mission, and it's all very defined by her professional life. Book is coming across to me as a person who is not only the perfect male, but a person who really knows who he is. He's not undefined to himself. He kind of understands what he wants and where he wants this all to go. And Burnham is still very not necessarily there personally. She's there very professionally and very strong and very confident, but she's baby stepping towards where he is. And I think the comparison is interesting, but it was the gazelle antlers that really did it for me. I was like, oh, okay, I see where you're going there. Again, imagery. It's all I look for.
That leads me to a question, but I see a hand from Will, so let's hear from Will, and then I'm gonna transition us to another
I'm
person,
just gonna pick.
Trevor, and then another thought.
I'm gonna piggyback off what Krista said because she makes a very good point about these characters because you can see that like Book is very much envious of their relationship because he probably sees what would have happened if Burnham hadn't gone back to the Federation to Starfleet. So like seeing these two parallels of it, I can see how he's like, oh, this is what we could have been, but Burnham chose Starfleet, and like it's a very interesting. And now he's kind of like in the 32nd century prison, like helping the refugees and stuff. So I think I can see like how that's going to create a complication later in the season. I hope it doesn't. That's too reminiscent of season 4, but I hope there's something in there where he's like, that's the light to be free is the life he's kind of chosen, and he's kind of tied because of Burnham. He's not. So yeah, no, excellent point, Krista. As always, excellent point.
Thank you. It's also that he doesn't actually care what they're doing. That's the lesser concern for him. It's the fact that they're together and that they are not going to, even though we're speculating she's going to fuck him over, but as far as he's concerned,
not speculating, she's gonna kill that dude, but that she's definitely gonna kill him.
Well, again, Burnham is sort of killing the relationship at the moment. So it's kind of all sort of metaphorical, but for him, it's the freedom. It doesn't matter what they're doing. He just wants to be with the person that makes it all worthwhile. And to me, that's a really beautiful, it makes him the perfect man, emotionally available man.
I know that we like I'm not trying to rewrite Discovery at all, but I do think it would have been fun for these two characters because we have Book having known her and we're like, oh, that makes the universe feel small. Just fucking hang a lantern on it. They were all in prison together. Burnham gets Book out for this mission. They're like, he's getting out for a mission. They escape somehow and are on the trail because of Book and their connection to him. Like instead of him just kind of stumbling upon, I think I know her. Like, because again, that does make the universe seem really, really small. If you're going to make it small on purpose. Like make these people have a connection because of story reasons.
Yeah, or the courier thing would have been enough, but now she's family. Okay.
Also, just as an aside, Matt's been gone for a couple episodes. Now that he's back, he actually just created a new banner that I think we need to add, which is what's up with his face?
What's up with his face?
Because I particularly enjoyed that as a description of our new bad guy.
Yes.
And it's going to apply to something soon. And
it's also a Nemesis quote. What's wrong with his face? Question for the crew. Do we think I think one of two things are happening with Book. Either over the course of the season, they will end up re-falling in love and get back together, or they stay apart. Rayner is going to end up dead, probably through his own hubris. And are they going to get back together, or are they setting it up for him to end up with a Starfleet commission and replacing Rayner as XO? EXO.
Well, I thought that they were going to have Book be the XO, but then they brought Rayner in. Like I fully thought that Book was going to be the executive officer, but yes, exactly. I think that having Rayner there's a better choice. It does give me, ironically, Battlestar Galactica vibes. It does give me that the crotchety XO with the spirited, thoughtful commanding officer. I don't know. It feels like, because sometimes Discovery as a storytelling entity seems to take the path of least resistance in terms of its storytelling direction. So sometimes they'll pick something that's a little more a less challenging direction in order to maybe appeal to a broader audience. I don't know. I doubt it's the writers. I think it's just the direction in which the show is and how it's creatively moving, how it's directed. But I don't know. I hope. Well, whatever. I mean, we should have an episode where we just speculate on. We should just have a list of things we think is going to happen and just tick them off this season. But just see what happens. But no, yeah, Krista, I hate these uniforms. End of I hate them. Why do you have your rank 3 places? Girl, get over it. Your fucking neck here, that's enough. And you got these little shoulder doodads. And then it's also on your fucking your Tricom badge. And then that shit's not even. It's like, Mama, I can't. And then
It's
the
all
red's
just
more orange than red. Drives me nuts.
But
It's
it's
also
only here and here for captains. For everyone else, this and this matches. It's just like an officer's. Like there's
It's
nothing
still
for the
too
shoulder, and there's
much.
the
It's
neck
still-
thing. The neck thing makes no sense. The neck thing is
Well, it's
just
too
squiggles and
decorative.
dots.
Like that makes more because the pips would just kind of move. That makes a little more sense to me. But
And-
like the little shoulder thing is a little weird. And then why is it on the comm badge too? Because when they
And
did it in
last
Future
season-
Imperfect, they take those off and it just goes on the comm badge.
Mhm.
And last season, when Reno opens her jacket, it splits the
It's like-
neck thingy, but everyone else, it like opens like a flat. It's very
Yeah.
confusing.
No, it's weird because it's like a thing they like stick on. Anyway, the costume designer is brilliant. These costumes are a
In
chop.
the infamous words
In the design
of,
challenge.
in the infamous words of the
Yeah.
late great Anna Nicole Smith, I don't like it.
I think
Yeah.
they're gonna get back together. I think they're like laying the seeds for like Burnham again. Like she's very confident, kind of professionally in the path that she walks, but it's understandable that she's a little cautious with Book. I mean, one, she's leapt 1,000 years into the future, and everybody that she's loved has abandoned her on some level. So, and then here's Book choosing, to blow up the universe or whatever last season and has to go to jail, Federation jail or whatever that is. But, he's on work release and she's conflicted. But I think he sees, because you're right, Krista, he's emotionally, mature and intelligent. He sees the possibility and hopes, but I think she's the one who needs to come around. And I think they're the parallel of Maul and Locke in that regard, right? That he's emotionally invested and Maul is like, no, I'm just going to focus on my career. So, but I think they're laying the seeds for them to get back together.
They just need to remember all the good times and, it's all coming back. It's all coming back to her now.
I don't think that they would.
God damn it, Ken.
I don't
No,
think that they would kill Raynor. I know. I'm sorry, Stan. I interrupted your spiel.
No, it wasn't a spiel. It was just I just want somebody to acknowledge this concert on the holodeck.
Stan was coming in for a landing, and Ken was straight up like, "Let's bury this shit in the sand."
Yeah.
Exactly, like the ships.
Yeah.
I really wanted to hear Detmer say, I have the silly thing in reverse. No, but I don't think they're going to kill Raynor because they made a big point about second chances in this whole second episode. That to kill him would just totally undo this whole second chances thing.
Really? Because I think it fits even more because they're going to be like, oh, look, at the end of the season, you fulfilled your second chance. Aren't you so happy you got that second chance and now you could die happy? Because he was already going into retirement, so we know he's supposed to be old. And he clearly is probably not going to have family, so it's going to be like, oh, I finally made it. Like,
That's too Shaw. That'll be too much like Shaw.
you're really giving... I don't know.
Maybe not.
Star Trek has never repeated plot points with different characters before, has it?
Never.
Y'all aren't the first ones to say Shaw today, but he's giving me Lorca vibes.
Raynor?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm feeling
bit.
Jellicoe. I'm feeling Jellicoe.
Raynor doesn't strike me. Yeah, Raynor's not running around being a bigot that for some weird reason everybody ends up liking at the end of the show except me. So I don't
Okay,
get that.
Drag
So
her.
sorry, Shaw. Like, actor is delightful, wonderful, and did an excellent job. The character's a fucking asshole, and I don't
I'm
know why
with
people
you,
are interested.
Trev.
Like,
Speak, drag that.
he
bitch.
was a bigot, but he was endearing. Like, oh, fuck off. Like,
No,
Yeah.
no, he's dead naming his first officer to build her character. Go fuck yourself. Sorry, I've had a few.
You know what's funny is that whole rant, I thought you were talking about Lorca.
No, Lorca was evil. It wasn't his fault. He was born that way.
Yeah.
No, I think
It's a mirror universe.
man has the right
Agreed.
of it. It's more Jellicoe, more just let's get in there and get to
Say it.
fighting.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say "Get It Done," which was his like.
Oh
Jellicoe.
yeah. Let's get in there and
Get
get
it
it
done.
done. Oh, I missed it. But
Sorry.
yeah, he's way more Jellicoe than he is Shaw. Shaw was just a PTSD problem. No,
I don't know
offense.
how Shaw slipped through the cracks and retained his commission. Like, if we're completely honest, he went through the Dominion War like that. Like, there was no psychological evaluation that said, maybe he has some unresolved issues. Maybe don't give the man that survived Wolf 359 a Borg first officer.
Right.
Like,
How does that happen? Yeah.
But I think Shaw didn't feel that he had earned the commission at all. That's the difference between Shaw and Rader and Jellicoe. They are not confused. They as far as they are concerned have more than earned it. So that level of he just didn't share that level of confidence.
In some ways, he's kind of like a 20 or 30 year older Kirk in some respects.
he is giving strong Kirk vibes of like, I made the decision and I'm going to go with it. And then it's like, you're seeing the other side of Kirk of like, what if he hadn't made the right decisions and everything came out fine? Like, it was very like, no, we got this. I trust my crew and they're going to come through for us. And it's like, yeah, they're not. Like, it was that like, what if we saw this through the lens of a not hero, like not main character? And I actually really like him. I think he's a great character. I think it's, a very good use of the character, and that we get to see another captain that has now fallen from grace type of thing. I don't know. I think that they're gonna kill him for sure. But I'm excited to see. I also wouldn't say he was like Shaw at all.
I don't know what race he is. And actually, Burnham is becoming more like Kirk, too.
He's
Rainer's
What
a
race is he?
Kelleran. A Kelleran.
Kelleran?
Kelleran. We only saw them in
Deep
one
Space
other
Nine.
DS9, yeah.
The two races that came
Harvesters.
together to get rid of the harvesters with the hair that hasn't continued into the 32nd century, apparently.
They used to employ shields.
Employ.
I remember. I don't know why I remember that, but employ shields. It's just a fun line.
They stopped employing them because with interest and
Right.
shrinkage, it just got to be. Roll your eyes harder, Matt. Roll them
I
harder.
can't. Physically, I
was-
can't.
It was a blame labor moment.
No,
you
we
kind of
all know what
neglected.
happened. They just brought in AI. It's a double into the
That
what
one.
happens in the
Yeah.
show
It's
too.
not that easy, is it, Matt?
Not
That one-
like I am.
That one landed like the Discovery.
Ooh.
I'm just going to keep saying it till it works.
Hard and
Yeah.
unnecessarily.
Actually, I have it on in the background as I usually do. I just saw it again. Like
Face plants.
it was sand dunes. I don't think they didn't. It didn't seem to me like hard into the ground. It seemed like
Are you really about to justify anyone ramming a starship into a planet
I mean,
on
listen,
purpose? And the
Janeway.
other one can't spore drive out.
It happens. It
Right,
happens.
it happens.
They couldn't have spore drived out. Can you imagine the whole thing spinning? It would have caused, and everywhere.
Would have
Let's see.
coated the entire village in sand. Just
Exactly.
Guys, they live
Hey,
in a
that would be
desert
a good
village. They're okay
that
with
would be-
sand.
well, if that would be a really funny micro trek or whatever those shitty little animated things were. They
Very short.
go and it just covers the entire. They save the town, but it still gets covered. in
Plus,
sand.
weren't they like, they were not, those guys, isn't that,
Mhm.
what's his name? The Romulan dude. But this race, Jakku or whatever it was called, was a non-federation. So first for them to transport into that village just out of nowhere. I mean, how many, I guess they don't have the prime directive? Who knows?
They weren't pre-war.
no.
They were just
Yeah, there was a spaceport there.
Yeah,
It
that was
was
like the
There,
it wasn't
there was a
Jakku.
some type android living there. I think they know that other people exist.
All right, fine. They didn't say Android though. I thought that was cool that they said synth, not Android.
There's a question in the chat. Why did he get punished for what the villains actually did? Well, because he ordered his ship to fire first, risking an avalanche, which then got the bad guys to be like, oh, yeah, let's just do that. Whoops. I will say, switching gears slightly, I'm liking what we're seeing in the 32nd century so far this season. Something like there's been some really cool stuff in season 3 and 4, but like we talked about last week, it was a little wonky with like how exactly does the Federation work? Who gets to be on what floor? Why does a Starfleet captain get to vote in this? Here, Saru is getting a job that he's an ambassador, but not for one planet, for a group of planets, because the Federation's getting bigger again, and they want to make sure that the smaller planets aren't being ignored. So that's really interesting. The president being involved in this tribunal kind of makes sense given the political ramifications. Probably a little too in the weeds, President Rillick, but I will forgive it because it wasn't quite as egregious as what we've seen from the 32nd century in the last couple of seasons. So the world building I thought was getting really cool, along with the visuals, like the programmable matter being just magic. Like I'm over it, but like endless phasers, the phaser turning into a phaser rifle was really cool. I'm enjoying the world building in the 32nd century that we're getting. I do wish, and I know we're not going to. What I was saying this earlier. One of the downsides of being a cinematic Star Trek show is the budget will run out quickly. Like in 90s Trek, it was really easy to like flip this wall upside down, add a fancy looking chair, and it's a bridge of another ship. But we have no idea what the bridge on a 32nd century starship looks like, and it's because it would be too expensive to build, and that's a real bummer. So we hear them on comms, we never see them on the view screen, never see that ship. So that's a bummer. But the world building has been exciting to see. Thoughts on that? Anybody? William?
I like that Rayner is kind of the the stereotype of Kirk in a way, because we kind of touched on he's very Kirk-like, and then he's like, it's very cowboy diplomacy, it's very do what you got to do kind of thing, and like that's how you kind of operated up until
Taking
recently.
chances.
Yeah, up until recently. So he's kind of becoming obsolete in terms of a captain. So he's eventually he's so like now we're getting into the more soft Federation, the diplomacy, all of this stuff. So you see how the change of the Federation from being more of like a ragtag group of people trying to just keep it together into more of like a what it was, 900 years ago. So it's interesting to see it kind of do that. And then he's kind of become obsolete, and that's kind of where his character is going to develop, where he's going to be less of like the Wild West captain and more of the more traditional move, kind of from a Kirk to a Picard, I would say, in some regards. But no, interesting. We're getting more of the world building, but we're seeing it versus them just showing us people in an airport terminal voting. But that's it.
I have to. Oh, I was just gonna say, I really have to also say I appreciate the world building. I like that we are seeing this transition. The programmable matter for me is really getting into Stan, like it's just magic. Like it's taking me like you've gotten, and I guess like you could use the whole argument that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. I get that. So yeah, maybe there's a point there. But it was cool to see the phaser just extend to a rifle, but at the same time I was like, that's a little hokey.
Did the phaser extend, or did it go back into the buffer and come and the?
She
no,
like
she just
pulled it out.
Yeah.
And it just
She like
extended.
pulled it out. Yeah.
Which I guess
I've
like
pulled out.
functionally, if you can
I've never
program
pulled
matter, like
She just pulled it out, huh?
Pulled it
I've
out
never,
and got
I've never
really
pulled
long and
anything
hard.
out. I've never pulled
The-
anything out.
No, we're not doing it.
Do it. Do it. Do it, or we're
Pull-out
gonna
game
skip
is
made
that.
strong.
you
The
do
pull-out
it.
game is
But
strong.
Now,
In the arms of the angel.
I heard it from others. Yes. The 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 armor turning into a spacesuit I thought was really cool. It was a cool continuation of technology into the future. Like we have detached nacelles. I still think it looks a little silly, but it does look more in the future than we've seen before. So it's a visual cue of we're not in the 24th century anymore. I get it. The thing about the phasers that gets me, and I said this to Will, I think, when they get knocked out of their hand, why doesn't the programmable matter just go right back to the bracelet? I think that would be really cool to see. Like the phaser goes right back into the bracelet. Because like you can't just leave your phaser out and about. Come on. That's but and also programmable matter ropes, stupid, dumb idea. Season 4 silliness, but the rest of it, yeah, magic. I would love for them to flesh it out a little bit more, explain it. Like there's some nanotechnology, like it can read your thoughts or something. Like that's how it's so quick. Hearts and minds. I don't know. Krista, you had your hand up.
Well, not about phasers, but about I think going back to Joanne kind of thinking that they're going to end up together. I think they're putting Raider, the new CO. He's so fundamentally different from Saru. Saru is kind of there's a paternal aspect to him. And so moving him out and replacing him with this kind of crotchety person, that that yearning to want to stay in that environment may diminish and may inform her more to I'd like to actually go and hang out with Book instead. It won't be as easy for her to dismiss the personal and replace it with the professional, because the familial influences aren't there anymore. The thing that she was looking for is no longer there. And so that also, I thought it was interesting that of the 3 people that went down onto the Romulan ship, that Burnham was the only one not caught in the gel bubble of immobility and was able to play with her phaser rifle. Plot hole.
Ken, you had your hand up too, I think.
Magic.
Yeah, I just wanted to say about the world building. I thought it was interesting that they name checked the Breen and the Tholians and the Orion. I thought that was interesting. They talk about the 800-year-old Romulans, but there's really no reference to where the Romulans are now with Navarre, right? But there's also no reference to the any reference at all to the Klingons. I don't think there's been any reference to the Klingons in the 32nd century, which is pretty interesting. I might be wrong about that, but I don't think there has been. But it was interesting to hear the Tholians and the Breen, and that the Breen are rearming, and that there could be a big Breen battle, which again would be setting forward probably for Starfleet Academy. And it's also interesting is they knew that Starfleet Academy was in production before Discovery got canceled, I believe. So they could have still been setting these up, for sort of the backdoor pilot into Starfleet Academy with Tilly and her boy toy teacher. But it's interesting that they're talking about the Breen. Maybe they're going to take that forward into Starfleet Academy. Who knows?
Stan, I will say that from a world building perspective, the whole relic being sort of having that panel was very reminiscent of Star Trek 4 and President Roth having Kirk and company on trial. Even like even like looking at the world building that we knew of in the 23rd century, that never really made sense. And so it just sort of is a nice nod to these things don't always make sense.
Yeah.
Except in Discovery, we've actually acknowledged that there's sort of a melding of Starfleet and Federation leadership.
Mhm.
So
It is interesting, like, yeah, going from Star Trek 4, the president of the Federation has judicial powers.
yes,
Interesting.
it was very
And also
strange.
extremely dangerous and fascistic. And antithetical to Star Trek, actually.
Also a really shitty move when they could have had him as a character, not to go on a Star Trek 4 rant, but it would have been a great opportunity to have Admiral Cartwright as the person actually running the trial, because he would have been the head of Starfleet.
Mhm.
Would have been a nice, character moment. But anyway, they put the old white guy in charge because #80 Star Trek.
Right. One thing that I thought was oh, no, go ahead, Matt.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just
I
going to
had
say
another
about
thought,
the
yeah.
world building aspect. I liked the name dropping of other races. I want to see them rather than hear about them. I'd like to be shown, not told, which is something we've talked about plenty. At the same time, like it's still being the Tholians, the Breen, the Orions in the 32nd century, I think is interesting. And it further highlights what Ken was saying. It is weird that they haven't mentioned the Klingons, and I feel like it's just a real world that they've just been burned by people bitching about the look of the Klingons too much, that they don't even want to touch them. They let Strange New Worlds run with it. So I'm hoping that they're not just getting name dropped to then never bring it up again. I'd like to see it. Like what is the Breen Imperium like? I think he says it. Rayner says in his tribunal or whatever, they're infighting over a new leader. Like, let's actually see like what's going on there. I would love to see a 32nd century Breen and a Breen ship, but also because it makes it a little small galaxy. Give us some other new people. Like, give us like the Breen and the new race are becoming a thing.
Or the
'cause
Hirogen.
Or the-
I was
or the-
literally just
yeah.
gonna say the Hirogen. Like, give
Yeah,
us one,
or the Vaudoir.
or the Vaudoir, or literally anything that actually the Vaudoir would have been a great choice for that. Because the Hirogen kind of overused a little bit, but a great callback that they could have done and shown that, like, oh, the Vaudoir have now made it to,
Yeah,
the
I don't
rank
think
of.
I don't think they're well known enough.
My real answer to the intention set.
I don't know who they are.
Well, Ken,
Voyager.
have to work on that.
I don't know who they are. That didn't translate well, Ken.
Yeah, I don't know who they are. Damn it! No.
Get off my lawn.
All right, Grandpa, let's get you back to the home.
All
They
right,
weren't on a show in the 60s on a cardboard set, so I don't know who they are.
Exactly. That's not what I meant. But shut
Wasn't
up.
that the show?
young man.
Wasn't that the show that let a woman be captain? It laid the groundwork.
Now, I
What
have
about
no-
her
no,
period?
no.
Yeah.
You're gonna
No,
let
I have
a
no
woman
problem with a woman be
way?
captain. Don't
My-
put that
No
on me.
wonder they got lost.
Through this conversation.
Yeah,
I
Star
She
Trek
at least
Gilligan's
stayed in the
Island. It was
galley.
fucking Star Trek Gilligan's Island is what it was. Their 3-hour tour bullshit.
Blame women.
Blame women.
through this conversation, prior to this current mess, I have realized that my real answer to the to the intention setter is the Suliban. I want to know what's up with the Suliban or the Zindi. I mean, we see Zindi and Prodigy. It'd be cool to.
Well, aren't the Zindi are in the Federation by TNG?
Oh, yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So they're.
But post burn, maybe they're not.
Yeah.
This is true. Maybe they were like, we didn't like this in the beginning. 1,000 years ago, we hated you. Now we're going back to hating you again.
There's also a cool series of books. I don't remember which ones. They do some silliness with Bashir that I didn't love, but whatever. But they end up talking about the Breen as though the Breen are not a homogenous race, but rather they're like the Mandalorian of wait, no, that's not right because the Mandalorians are the Mandalorian is not a Mandalorian. Never mind, that's a different franchise. But the point is that in these books, the Breen are not a homogenous race. That's why they have the gear on because like they're like what
They
are
look like they're carrying thermal detonators
bounty
everywhere.
hunters. They're like bounty hunters.
Yeah.
You can become a Breen without actually being born Breen.
Like they're like a clan. They're like a.
Yes,
They're
they
like a. Yeah.
You know what else I was
okay.
thinking about is because this thing was these puzzle pieces were planted by 800-year-old Romulan. That's why they're going to, you know, they have to go to planets that were like next generation era planets. So they have to sort of stay very local. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Sounds like we're going to Trill next week.
I'm excited. A, I'm excited for Trill. B, I'm excited for the idea I have for Star Trek Las Vegas involving being a Trill. C, I have one thing that it just popped into my mind, and it's going to be a gripe, and I kind of just want to put it out there for everyone. When they first like let the people go, is this for me, sanctimonious buzzkill? Probably.
You just said you were going to gripe about something, so go for it.
Yeah, it's fair. When they go to warp and they're like, there's 20 warp signatures. We don't know which one it is. Like, we all know that I'm not a big proponent of the spore drive, but why couldn't they just jump to each of the 20 locations in rapid succession and figure out which one is the right one? Like, all of a sudden now we're not using the spore drive. We've used the spore drive more than anyone has ever used a warp drive.
Yep.
For the stupidest thing, when it was half in and half out of the whatever that was. But all of a sudden now we can't just jump to those locations and be like, boop, this is the one, and then follow them.
Yeah. I will say this is part of the world building thing. They've done some really good stuff, but they are also missing some things, in my opinion, as well, with like the programmable matter, like what can it do, what can it do? But then we get some things like what exactly is a red directive?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more.
I do think that's going to be explained. Something tells me that's going to, like, because he mentioned it in the second episode too, like, oh, that's your first red directive. I've done 7.
Yeah.
Like, I'm hoping maybe she goes, although it seems like she already knows what it is. So I don't know, unless we get an outside source that says,
well,
hey, what's the red directive?
She announced it to the crew. So like it's a procedure thing that they just haven't explained for the audience. So I was hoping that they would do that, like the Omega directive. That episode did a really good job of explaining what exactly it is, what the captain is supposed to do in those circumstances. So that was missing. And also, what the fuck is the pathway drive?
I guarantee we're going to find that out this season.
I really hope
so. I guarantee that'll be a plot point where all of a sudden they can't do it, and they can't use the spore drive, and they have to use probably what was the first one? It was the USS Voyager. That's right. Yes. We are guaranteed Voyager comes in at some point and swoops in.
Yeah.
He's supposed to have transwarp drive.
No.
Why would you want that bucket of bolts?
It does not work here. That is not applicable. And no,
she's supposed to have transwarp drive.
Pathfinder.
What if there's like different colored directives? Like, ooh, what's a blue directive? Like that's when we go to we get like a nice coffee and go to like walk around Marshall's. Like a pink one is we go to the club. Like what are the different colored what do they mean?
I think
like
a pink directive is all of us go to STLV.
That's a pink directive.
How is that problematic?
I thought you were.
I would say that's more of a black or like an Omega directive, to be honest.
I thought you were going to say something very different about a pink directive, and I clicked too soon. I was trying. Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to let it count for you having that horrible thought.
Yeah.
Fair. That was premature.
Fair.
Anyway,
a pink directive is what I say to get the yeoman to my quarters. There you go.
It's gross.
Yeah,
nope.
Just gonna file that.
A big old planet and a starship just
crash right into it.
It just sounds so hateful coming from you. It's a 30 quote. What is the pathway drive? It's not SB19. It's not the portal thing that Navarre was working on. Rayner, the way that he says, I could be more helpful here if we had a pathway drive, but we still have old burn tech warp drive, suggests that it's just a slightly revamped. Like, I'm worried that
Warp drive.
I'm gonna get. Good God, I am worried that we are gonna get a Voyager-esque explanation of, oh well, now the nacelles just do this, and so we don't have to worry about fucking with subspace anymore. It's going to be like, oh, it's powered differently. It's not dilithium crystals now. It's chronoton waves or something, and it's going to be. I'm worried it's going to be a big old letdown.
I think it's going to be the same speed as warp. It's just going to be a different way of warping space. It's going to be a different way of. It's not just the old, just let some antimatter and matter collide and dilithium channel the reaction. It's going to just be some other way of letting the ship slip through.
Guys,
not
can I
slipstream.
really,
I think it's going to
sorry,
be
yeah.
something like a coaxial drive or like a space fold situation, because it sounded like it was comparable to the spore drive in that it was more instantaneous. So I think it's more along that. I'm more along that line, because they're abandoning the spore drive not because it wasn't fast. It's just they found this other thing that's probably easier and fast, probably the same speed as a slipstream drive. So it's probably
Ludicrous
something
speed.
like that.
I am fully expecting them to use it and be like, oh my gosh, here it is. Thank God the Voyager's here. It has a Pathfinder drive. And they're going to see it and they're going to be like, ooh, that's real great. I'm glad that saved the day. And then we are going to get
The Pathfinder
no
drive is
explanation
just a
beyond
gay
that.
walking down a sidewalk, just real
Yes.
fast.
That's really,
That's what the
it's just a
Pathfinder
gay
drive
spore
is. Out of
drive.
the way. Yeah.
It's ludicrous speed.
Is it a gay
You've
spore
already
drive or
said
is the
it,
spore
and
drive the
nobody
gay?
I
reacted.
know. I'm just saying it again. I'm going to say it till people react. It's a Mel Brooks thing, and Mel.
Just gonna go ahead and do that.
Because the spore drive wasn't gay enough.
Trevor.
Literally, there are so many spores in that drive, I'm sure.
Oh.
Couldn't a pathway directive, or couldn't that be the pink pathway drive, be the pink directive? I mean, it's kind
In the arms of the angel.
I was gonna say it's a brown directive.
What I was.
In the arms of the angel.
So what you're. So it's one in the pink.
2 in the drive.
I cried in the drive.
Clean out the nacelles. We're going to pink alert.
Engage.
Engage the shower douche. It's a
Engage.
pink
Let's
directive.
fly.
The pathway drive painted the galaxy.
Joanne!
That's another one.
I can't.
Well,
That's
my
another one.
pathway drive painted the galaxy.
Give it
to her.
No!
Give it to her.
Listen.
Give it to her. Push the
Listen.
button.
Listen.
Joanne!
I don't even know which one to do.
It's
It's
over.
Not that one.
I have to admit something.
I'm off the rails. I'm sorry.
I am a
We love it.
38-year-old gay man, and I just in the last year heard the phrase painting. And first of all, gross.
Are we doing this?
Hilarious. And third, I don't know how to get us back on track. Oh, I can say something gross and problematic gay.
There was a guy in college we called Pablo Picasso because he kept painting guys.
This is a classy show.
If you don't know what that means, just type into your little search bar.
Don't Google it.
On your personal device. Don't. If you're doing this from like work, don't do.
Best to
Don't.
do it at a work. This is
Go
safe
right
for
into
work.
a
Do it from
Google
your work
hole.
computer.
Yeah, Urban Dictionary painting. Is there
Meanwhile, Star Trek.
Is there anything about these 2 episodes that we haven't yet discussed that we would like
The
to
entire second episode.
We've talked about it.
The Infinity Room, they solved that problem of standing in the high school auditorium where everybody talks at the same time.
That's where
Now they have like a special little key. They go
it's
to
where
a white room.
where Q
It
found
looked like
Picard.
an IUD. I was like, who
It
designed
did
this?
look like an IUD. I was like, it's look, here's your contraceptive. Let's go to the white room.
He's like handing
We
it to
have a
Burnham.
key.
I'm like, inappropriate.
Wow.
Books on your ship. You'll need this. The fuck?
He knocked my last one out. I'm so glad you brought a second one.
Should we talk about the second episode? Because apparently we haven't.
Sure haven't.
The arsenal
was-
of freedom of it all.
It was great.
It-
Back to
that's
the Pink
all I
Directive.
could-
Will,
really
what were your
was.
thoughts on the second episode?
I was gonna say it's a fun Arsenal of Freedom callback, and the it was funny watching. I don't know if they got. Oh, thank you so much, Walter. I don't know if they got Doug Jones to run through the forest or if it was like a stunt actor, but it was so funny. Like seeing the like whoever it was like trying to run because they're not obviously not wearing the shoes, right? Because that's ridiculous. Walking around in those Lady Gaga circa 2010 heel, but like the that's what they look like to me. I'm sorry. But like him running around was really funny, and I thought it was a good episode to get Burnham and Saru together, and it reminded me of like our old TNG episode, and I liked it a lot. But the running around was really funny because I think they sped it up. I don't know. It just looks funny. It just looks funny. That it looks like, but it looked like oh god, it looked like an old it looked like a Charlie Chaplin, like an old vaudeville like thing. It just looked really silly, but it was cute. I liked the episode a lot. And the mystery stuff is fun where they're like figuring it out and we're seeing them figure it out as a team.
Apparently what they did there was his stunt double, and they had one of those conveyors like you see at an airport. You know, the conveyor is ending now. So they actually had that on a truck. And so he was running on a conveyor and there was a truck, and that made him seem like he was even faster. So they were pulling a conveyor at the same time. And that's how they did that scene. But it was definitely a stunt double.
Oh,
it looked hokey either way. Like, I don't know if it was like the frame rate that they used and they didn't say, like, it just looked ridiculously like you just fast forwarded through it. Like,
It
I was
always
just,
it always does. The last time they had Saru running in season 1, it looked ridiculous. Like it's the faster than human running never works in any. Every time they've tried to do like a modern bionic, like they did a Bionic Woman spinoff, they kept messing that up. Like it doesn't. The fact that Bionic Woman and $6 Million Man did the slow motion was the smartest thing they ever did, because speeding it up just looks dumb. No matter what, no matter how much technology you put in it, fast running always looks fake.
They did it. The $6 Million Man, the first early episodes, they did have him doing it fast. Some of the like the original pilots, but yeah, slowing it down and then doing the effect. That's what they should have done. They should have slowed him down and have him do the bionic effect. Everyone would have been awesome.
Can we talk for a second about Doug Jones? The facial prosthetics don't move, and how skilled you have to be as an actor to use your body to express emotion in every way that he moves, the way he does head tilts, the tone of his voice. It is stunning what he is able to convey without having the benefit of facial features, accessible and movable facial features. And
I want to say,
I just want to go, props to this guy, because teach a class, dude. Your body acting, your eye acting with those weird contacts. I mean, everything. It's like outstanding.
I hate to be cliche, but I genuinely mean it when I say if there is 1,000 Doug Jones fans, I am one of them. And if there is one Doug Jones fan, it is me. Like he is not only an incredible like character actor, prosthetic character actor, but such just one of the most genuinely good people you will ever come across on this entire planet. Like he will go out of his way to try to remember you at conventions and give you a hug, and like he is absolutely one of the best people on the planet. And I'm so happy that he's getting like so much attention, especially. I will say to that point, I don't know if anybody else noticed this, his prosthetic around the mouth this season is much more obvious where you can see his lips inside. And once I realized that, it's all I could see. I don't know if they like adjusted it or if it's a new one or something. But
He might be kissing. We might actually get to see a kiss.
Maybe. I don't know what it is. It's just like that lower mandible part isn't moving as much as it used to, and you're noticing behind it how his lips are moving. And that just it's all I could focus on. But
And then they kiss.
but I mean he's incredible, but
It's like Kurt
And then
Hummel,
they kiss.
Glee.
yeah. The key.
Saru's engaged. Congratulations, Saru.
I love that she proposed to him.
Yes.
Mazel.
To Taru.
Oh, Taru, I get it.
Somebody tried to make it, or Trek movie, I think, wants it to be Serena. I'm like, no, that's too much of a regular name. And first of all, Tarina needs to come first in this, obviously. Taru. Maybe Taruna. It's a little much. It's like a sandwich.
I just like Taru. Although Taru just sounds straight up Vulcan. Like
Taru.
that's just
Yep.
I just want to see their babies.
Yes.
Agreed.
Oh, they would be so cute. I loved
gonna
her
be
little
adorable.
joke at the beginning. She's like, or will I have to mind meld? That was
I love that they're letting her bring through some of that Romulan.
mhm.
Like that clearly the Vulcans and the Romulans have cohabitated long enough that we're seeing this Vulcan that clearly has a lot of these like more, it feels like the perfect blend. I love her so much and I want to see so much more of her.
She's a very good actress. There's a moment where Saru takes the plant and puts it on a table, and the way she looks at him, without like her face is almost expressionless, but she's looking at him, and you can tell how much she cares for him and how much she loves him. And I'm like, good on him, because both, Doug Jones is an amazing actor and should have been nominated for Shape of Water. I'll say that because his performance is really great in that movie, even if it doesn't say a single fucking line. But I love their relationship. I'm glad we're seeing development. It would have been nice to see it maybe start last year, but if this feels right at this moment in time, knowing that this is the last season and having them, be together and all that, and then making a choice to do it, I think is nice. And also it's a good juxtaposition to Book and Burnham's situation as well, where we're getting that they're like Saru is sacrificing being on a starship to be an ambassador so he can be closer to Tarina. I think is a great continued foils for the relationship we see with Burnham, which is great. And I love the actresses, and I love that they're getting married.
Oh, can I also ask the audience and everyone, why do we think he has to resign his commission in Starfleet to be an ambassador? That seems like you could still retain your commission and be the ambassador. No?
No.
I think it was more specifically that he couldn't be on a starship. I don't think it was necessarily that he couldn't be
in Starfleet.
in Starfleet. I think it was more that he couldn't be on a starship.
I mean, that
from my interpretation, that's what it came across more as, instead of he had to give his commission. It just gave up the fact that he couldn't be on a ship anymore.
I got that.
It's not headcanon. That's me interpreting the scene, Stanley. That's me interpreting dialogue in the scene. That's not headcanon. I didn't make anything up.
They're two different
I will
jobs.
fight you.
Why would he retain his commission as an ambassador? That doesn't make sense.
I thought he specifically said he had to give up his Starfleet commission.
Yeah, he did. I'm pretty
did.
sure.
Yeah.
Because it's to the non-aligned
I'm a captain
world.
in Starfleet.
Yeah, I
I'm also a chef. Like, no, like you're a chef or you're a captain. Like, pick one.
All right, I guess.
Cisco did
Unless
I
not.
guess.
Unless you're Pike, and then you can be a chef and a captain.
Well, for your crew.
And Captain Cisco. He was also a chef.
And Janeway.
I
She
hate
did
it.
a lot of programming on her replicator.
I
just
hate
burned the
that
pot roast.
sexist trope. I hate it. It's so stupid. How does the first woman captain get written a subplot that she burns shit out of her replicator? Fuck you, Rick Berman, and douchebag.
No, just leave it. No, just leave it there. Yeah, fuck Rick Berman. There it is.
Also has to sit off to the side and apparently can't just turn the burned pot roast into recycle it into better pot roast.
Well,
Like that's what the replicator does anyway.
Shit that doesn't make sense. In every episode of Star Trek, there's something that you're like, what? Why don't you use the transporter? Why don't they have another shuttle? Why did they have to dive into the sand again? Things, plot. We are circling the drain here. Anything about these first two episodes that we haven't discussed yet, or we can move on to our final thoughts on this kickoff to season 5.
I still hate our gays. I just want to say it.
Okay.
What?
That's harsh.
Yeah.
I hate Stamets. I hate Culber. They're terrible actors. They have no chemistry. That's all I want to say. That's my
I'm
closing.
going to add to my list of speculative things that are going to happen. They're getting divorced.
Really?
I smell a divorce. I smell a
I don't-
separation. I smell a divorce.
I don't see that.
I
You
don't see
it.
that
I
at
smell
all.
it.
No.
I smell something
No.
going on. I smell
I
it.
see them. I see them really struggling with writing a realistic relationship.
Correct.
And I've seen that from jump. What I see though, like, and I will disagree with Matt. What I think really, really works is that for me, the friendship aspect of their relationship comes through because Anthony and Wilson are friends, and that to me is apparent. Like their sexual chemistry doesn't exist because they don't write anything sexual for them.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing remotely sexual about their relationship
But-
because the writers are afraid to do that for some weird reason.
Okay, Trev, I just have to, let me clarify also. I don't just mean that I hate their chemistry and like as a couple. I think they're both bad actors. Like, I don't think they deliver good lines, and I just don't like them.
I think they are better on Broadway for sure. I don't think they're bad actors, but I
Correct.
think they're better
Yeah, I
on.
don't think they're bad
Yeah,
actors at
they're
all.
That's
Broadway
what it is.
people.
That's a better way to put it. I think they are bad screen actors. I think they are. You're absolutely right. I've seen Anthony rap on Broadway. He was fantastic. You're right. They're
And
fantastic
you have to
actors.
play from the back of the room. It's a different dynamic. So yeah.
It's yes. Paul put it exactly. Anthony is somehow getting worse, and Wilson Cruz is somehow getting more insufferable just by being on screen. Like, I'm sorry, he just it's not convincing. He just seems like he's this robot. I don't know.
I
And
feel a lot of,
Adira, I'm sorry.
yeah. Krista, I see your hand.
You caught me mid swallow. That's what he said. So I think what the problem with Culber is that he is like the scene where he's with Book and Book is like, yeah, I've been doing the refugee thing. And he goes, I didn't ask what you were doing. I asked how you are. And then he checks up on him again. And it's this sort of cheap reminder that he's now a counselor. That's his role. He's boxed in, and we're done with everything else. They'll be in a room together, but they won't be standing close together. It reminds me of the scene in season 4 where they're having a conversation. They're getting ready for bed. They're climbing into the bed. They're discussing something very important that affects both of them. And the camera pans back, and then black screen. They're just staring at each other. They should have touched. They should have kissed. There should have been some form of physical affection, and there just doesn't seem to be that available. And so Stamets appears more like he's just uncomfortable. He's uncomfortably portrayed. It's like he's cranky all the time. What the hell? I mean, I understand you have this kind of, you hit your badge and science liaison or whatever he is now comes up and you're unsatisfied with that, but whatever, he's grumpy all the time, and Culber's running around trying to counsel everybody. It's like it's cheaply written. And I agree with Trev, there's no chemistry because they're not written to have chemistry.
Yeah, they just exist to exist.
They're just there to check a box.
They've assimilated, not in the Borg sense, in the homogenous heteronormative way.
Sexless. Yeah.
Yeah, I seriously doubt they're going to break them up just because there was so much, like, you killed one and had to immediately take it back, because you can't break up this gay couple. So I don't think they're actually going to give us a gay couple and then take. I mean, they could because they're assholes to us sometimes, but I don't think they're going to give it to us and then take it away.
Or
I just
everybody's
think
That's true equality. That's true equality. You can give us a gay couple, but make their asses gay divorce. Like, like make it happen.
No.
That's equality. We see it
Will-
all the time. They maybe like I'm hoping that the reason and like their two characters are so frigid and so like blood to each other is because we are moving to that breakup. I think I wrote in the chat, I think it's the most interesting thing to happen to either one of them in 5 seasons. Like
So
I
it's
think you're giving
like
the writers
fucking
too much
break 'em
credit
up.
for predictable
Exactly.
nuance. Like I don't think that predictable nuance is there.
Like I said,
Yeah.
I think it's a path. It's not on the path of least resistance. That is taking a strong, bold stance with your characters and giving them something developmental to deal with, and trusting in your actors to act it out. But none of those writers are going to do that. They're just going to be happy, hunky dory with their 27-year-old daughter, their non-binary child that they adopted 6 months ago. The whole thing is going to be. It's just going to wrap up real easy. But I want them to break up because
See,
it would
I
be
think-
interesting to watch.
If they really want to write an authentic gay couple before they get a divorce, they need to try having a third.
They did. It's Adira.
Oh, don't like that. I
They
don't like
adopted
that.
her. They adopted them.
are.
That's their fix-it child. That's their fix-it person.
That's
That's
not
what's
what
weird
Matt was
about
saying.
it.
I don't
It's
think
so
that's
He was
weird.
saying-
It doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense. Anyway, no.
The
I'm
whole
backing
It is-
off
thing
of this.
doesn't.
It doesn't make any sense. It's their relationship
is
makes no
clunky.
sense. I hope they break up.
But you know
I
what
hope
would have
they
made
break
their
up.
relationship make sense? If at one of the times we saw them not in their uniforms, they weren't in head-to-toe pajamas all 4 times. Like
Yeah.
I made a comment
Right.
on a previous episode about the fact that like the first time we saw them and that scene was really powerful, but they're like completely covered. So I'm like, oh well, maybe we'll see them again, and we do 3 more times, and each time they're covered from head to toe.
But
It
see,
doesn't-
that could also
it's-
just be that they wear pajamas. Like that doesn't bother me as much as
Shit was cold.
like
but they're not wearing Picard pajamas with like sarong type
That's
with all
true.
the everything. I mean,
My
He's
thing
just
is, they
wearing
just should've shown-
lady's negligee to bed. I don't know what
don't
Picard
The
was
only-
wearing, but that thing was
excuse this, Matt.
bloody.
Don't excuse it. It's not fucking drag these people.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I just
It's
think
not.
They need to show affection. They need to kiss. Show bareback anal sex. That's equality.
I don't think you're going to get that.
I want
Publish your
hardcore,
fanfic.
unfiltered Wilson Cruz railing Anthony Rapp, or
Thank
it's
you.
homophobic.
Thank
That
you,
is a
slutty
third
nightwear.
pink
All I'm
directive.
asking for.
Oh
All I'm
God,
asking for.
this is gonna live on the internet, isn't it? God.
It is.
This is
Oh wait, but Paul did bring up a good point that I wanted to bring up too. Gray, I am interested to see how they bring Gray in on the next episode. I also hope that is the last episode we see Gray. Love Blue Del Barrio. Or no, not Blue Del Barrio. Ian Alexander.
character's
really
not great.
can't stomach his acting. Can't do it. I'm sure maybe he's gone to
Earnestness. It's the earnestness. It's the smiling earnestness.
It's
Yes.
I be petty?
unsettlingly
All of them.
Can I be petty?
All of
Yeah.
them.
Sure.
Great guys.
Does
And-
today end
and
in
it's-
Y?
really unusual that I'm making this type of reference, but I'm going there. His hair
Sports.
drives me crazy.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
He has
Say
the
it
worst
again?
haircut on the planet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who?
Ian
But
Alexander.
it's quirky and
Oh, yeah.
it's queer.
It's a mullet.
It's not.
It's ugly.
It's a mullet. The next time we see him, he's going to be driving a truck with balls hanging off the
It's
back.
it's very 2024. Seeing Gray with that hair pulls me out of the future for sure.
Yeah. We needed something. If they wanted to be like, ooh, it pushes the bounds, I'm fun. Like, do it. Like, don't do that, like, wishy-washy, I dyed my hair blue with Kool-Aid packets in my parents' bathtub haircut. Like, it's not giving what they think it's giving. That's the problem.
Speaking of giving, I need this man to give it to me.
Push the button.
I
Hi,
did go to
Batman.
find his Instagram, and I looked, and Stan is already.
He looks
Sorry.
like he's an
I looked this
extra
man
from the
up because I
movie
wanted more
300.
information, and Stan's already
Stan-
following him.
He's
Yes.
already liked all of his pictures.
No,
Yeah.
I don't do that. I scroll down to like something from years ago because then it gets in their brain. They're like, oh, this person's interested in my early work. I did not actually do that. I'm not actually insane.
What's the actor's name?
Gregory Ambrose Calderon.
He scribbled Stanley Calderano about 40 times in a notebook right now.
Yeah, that's
We're
spiral.
gonna get
down.
married.
It's
Our
really-
children are gonna be named Mabel, and we have a
Oh,
boy.
God.
His name is named Trenton. Like it's gonna be
What was
something
it?
like that.
Ambrose?
I will have
Calderano.
better kid names than that. How dare you?
Sounds like a character from either The Godfather or someone who hung out with Khan Nooney and Singh.
Trevor.
Yeah.
Maybe both.
That name doesn't sound like a real person name. All right,
Trevor.
you want the
Right.
The tallies.
All right, here it comes. I'm a little rough on the actual number because they happened so fucking many times today, but I believe there were 8 problematic gay alerts. If you're watching this playback or you were for some weird fucking reason keeping up and trying to count yourself, there's one extra because one happened before we went live. That's never happened before. That's a record. So congratulations, team. There were 2 Bev alerts. There was 1 canon alert, 5 problematic ally alerts, 100 bonus points to Will for burning puns, 69 bonus points to Joanne for pesky painting problems, and 5,000 bonus points to Krista for balls on a truck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Still
Them
think
balls
I
on them trucks.
points for this. Like we would use the holodeck to go to concerts, right? Come on.
I would
Say
use
good-
the holodeck for sex.
Say goodnight, Stanley.
Also that. Anyway, thank you all for joining us in this lovely discussion about the first 2 episodes of Star Trek Discovery Season 5. We will be back same time, same channel next week. We are at Salon Trek here on YouTube, Twitter, and Blue Sky. Please follow, share. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get notified of new content. We've got some fun stuff coming up every week through Discovery Season 5 and some other fun programming that we're starting to work on that we'll be announcing at a later date. Until next week, where we hope you all will join us on Trill, I hope that you all and will forevermore, as always, live long and prosper. Thank you all for joining us.